My name is Claire. I'm 23, and I live in Portland, Oregon. I'm a college student studying literature, and until recently, I lived with a girl named Sarah. She moved out abruptly, saying she had to take a job in another state. That left me with the problem of rent, and I needed a new roommate fast. So, like any broke college student, I turned to Craigslist. After scrolling through endless profiles and weird responses, I found a guy named Jake. He seemed like a perfect fit. Mid-20s, clean, quiet, and friendly. We met at a local coffee shop, and everything felt normal. He didn't give off any weird vibes, and his references checked out. He moved in within a week. For the first week, it was fine. Jake was polite, paid his rent on time, and mostly kept to himself. I thought I had lucked out, but then things started to get weird. Jake would disappear for hours, sometimes late at night. I didn't think much of it at first. People had their lives. But then he started locking his bedroom door all the time, even when he wasn't home. I mean, who does that? It got stranger when I noticed this faint metallic smell in the hallway near his room. I told myself it was probably nothing. Maybe he was into weird foods or something, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. One night, I was up late working on an assignment when I heard him leave the apartment. It was around 2 a.m., and I couldn't help but wonder where he was going. That smell had gotten worse, like something rotting. I couldn't stand it anymore. Curiosity got the better of me, and I tried his door. Locked, as usual. I don't know why, but I felt like I had to get in there. I found a spare key he'd given me for emergencies. My heart was pounding, but I turned the key and pushed the door open. The smell hit me first, strong, nauseating. Her room was dark, but when I turned on the light, I froze. The carpet had these dark stains. Blood, it looked like. My legs went weak, but I forced myself to keep looking. That's when I saw it. In the corner of the room was a suitcase, partially open. Inside, there were clothes, women's clothes, dresses, skirts, even some jewelry. None of it was mine, and I knew for a fact Jake didn't have any girlfriends over. My brain was scrambling to make sense of what I was seeing. The bloodstains, the clothes, it didn't add up. Panicking, I grabbed my phone and called the police. They arrived within minutes, but it felt like hours. The officers searched the room, and their expressions turned grim. One of them pulled me aside and asked if I knew anything about Jake's past. I told them all I knew, how I'd met him through Craigslist, how he seemed normal. Then they told me something that made my blood run cold. Jake wasn't his real name. He was a suspect in a series of murders across nearby cities. He had been using Craigslist to find new places to hide, always moving from one apartment to the next. The women's clothing, they likely belonged to his victims. I couldn't believe it. I had been living with a killer, and I had no idea. Jake never came back that night. The police issued a warrant for his arrest, but he was already gone. It's been weeks now, and they still haven't found him. Every time I walk through the door of my apartment, I can't shake the feeling that he might come back. The smell of blood still lingers in my mind. My name is Samantha. I'm 27, and I live in Sacramento, California. I've always been on the lookout for good deals, and when my old car finally gave out, I needed something quick. Like most people, I turned to Craigslist, hoping to find something affordable. I stumbled across an ad for a used car, a 2010 Honda Civic. The price was way below market value, and the seller, a young woman named Sarah, seemed eager to sell it fast. She told me she was moving and didn't need the car anymore. It seemed like a perfect opportunity, so I arranged to meet her. When I got there, Sarah looked perfectly normal. She was in her early 30s, friendly, and didn't seem like someone trying to pull a fast one. We chatted for a bit, and she told me she just needed to get rid of the car quickly before leaving town. I took it for a test drive, and everything seemed fine. The price was too good to pass up, so I bought it on the spot. For the first couple of weeks, everything was great. The car ran smoothly, and I was happy with my purchase. But then, strange things started happening. It started with this weird noise coming from the back, almost like a rattling sound. At first, I thought it was something minor, maybe a loose part or something in the trunk. I tried to ignore it, but over time, it got louder. Then came the smell. The smell was horrible, like something rotting. It was faint at first, but it grew worse with each passing day. No matter how much I cleaned the car, it wouldn't go away. It seemed to be coming from the trunk. I opened it up several times, but nothing looked unusual, just an empty trunk. One night, the smell became unbearable. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed a flashlight and decided to search every inch of that car. That's when I noticed something odd. A section of the trunk floor felt loose, like it could be lifted. My heart started racing. I pried it open, and that's when I saw it. A hidden compartment, stained with blood. Old, dried blood smeared across the inside. I froze. My hands were shaking as I reached in and pulled out a bundle of clothes, women's clothes, covered in dark, dried stains. I felt sick. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I quickly dropped everything and backed away from the car. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of it all. Who did this belong to? Why was it in my car? Panicking, I called the police. They arrived within minutes and started investigating. They took one look at the hidden compartment and asked me where I got the car. I told them about Sarah, how she seemed in a hurry to sell it, how it was such a good deal. The officer's face grew serious, and he told me something I wasn't prepared to hear. The car had been flagged in a police investigation. It had been used in a series of murders in nearby towns. Sarah wasn't just some woman trying to offload her car. She had been trying to get rid of evidence. The blood, the clothes, they likely belonged to her victims. I felt a cold chill run down my spine. I had been driving around in a killer's car, completely unaware. Sarah had vanished, leaving me with the horror of what I had uncovered. The police are still looking for her, but every time I get behind the wheel, I can't help but wonder if she's out there, watching, waiting. My name is Ben. I'm 30, and I live in Austin, Texas. A few months ago, I decided to sell my old bicycle on Craigslist. I wasn't using it much, and I figure I could get some extra cash. I posted the ad, and within a day, I got a response from a guy named Greg. He seemed normal enough through the messages, and we agreed to meet at a local park to finalize the sale. When Greg showed up, he was a little older than I expected, maybe in his late 40s, but he was friendly enough. We talked for a bit, and nothing seemed off. He paid in cash, I handed him the bike, and we parted ways. I thought that was the end of it, but I was wrong. It started just a few days later. I noticed this beat-up car parked outside my house late at night. At first, I thought maybe it was a neighbor's visitor or someone who got lost. But the car kept showing up at random hours, sometimes in the early morning, sometimes late at night. It gave me a weird feeling, but I tried to ignore it. Then, I started getting texts from random numbers. At first, they were casual, like, "Hey, what's up?" or "How's your day going?" I had no idea who was sending them, and when I replied asking who it was, I never got an answer. The more it happened, the more uneasy I felt. It was as if someone was watching me. One day, while I was out for my usual jog, I got that same strange feeling again, like someone was watching me. I glanced behind me, and there he was, Greg. He wasn't jogging, just walking a few feet behind me, staring straight at me. My heart skipped a beat. Why was he there? I sped up, trying to lose him, but he kept following. It suddenly clicked. Greg wasn't just some random guy who bought my bike. He had been stalking me ever since we met. He knew where I lived, and now he was tracking my every move. I was terrified. I immediately went to the police and filed a report, but even after that, I didn't feel safe. The car kept appearing outside my house, and the texts didn't stop. I knew I couldn't stay in Austin anymore. I ended up moving to a new city far away, hoping Greg wouldn't find me again. But even now, whenever my phone buzzes or I see an unfamiliar car, that fear comes flooding back.